Chapter 71 Tooth for Tooth, Blood for Blood. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Encage was very efficient. After just 2 days, Su Jing had everything ready. At noon, the pink bunny-eared courier came again. This time he drove the explosion-proof transport vehicle of Dongfeng Express, got a permit to enter the school, and finally drove the car to the dormitory door. Huh? Changed your hairstyle? It suits you very well. Taking advantage of Zhong Yuan showing his ID card, the young man especially praised him. He had just delivered a courier a few days ago, and he still remembered the appearance of this little customer. Zhong Yuan said helplessly, "If my sister didn't think it looked good, I wouldn't have kept this hairstyle." It's true that the waist-length hair was cut off, but in the end it was left at a length that was enough to tie a ponytail behind the head. Even so, more than one person told him that the new hairstyle was super suitable. Even Zhong Lan said it looked good and didn't allow him to change his hairstyle, and since he knew that she had lost 20 years of life, Zhong Yuan basically obeyed everything and agreed to all requests. In this way, the new hairstyle was preserved. When Zhong Lan got tired of it, he would shave his head into a flat brush. Okay, the identity is confirmed. The young man lifted a large box from the explosion-proof car and asked, "Do you need me to help you carry it in?" This time it was not a small wooden box, but a huge metal safe. The total weight exceeded 300 kilograms. Even if he was a Su Neng, he would not be able to move it without the power system. Zhong Yuan did not dare to show off and said directly, "Help me carry it in, I will give you full marks." The young man smiled heartily, "No problem. Look at my unicorn arm." After that, his arm muscles swelled, full of strength, and he easily lifted the heavy safe. It really is a unicorn arm. Judging from the degree of swelling, the young man's strength is far less than Xiong Yuba. Even so, it is very impressive. It is really enviable to be able to carry such a heavy thing with care. Done. Brother, I wish you good luck. The young man smiled heartily and said goodbye to Zhong Yuan. This little customer of Chengying College is a trustworthy person. Last time I said I would take care of his business, and it turned out to be true. It was rare in the industry to receive such a large order in just half a month. If you tell others about it, you can brag about it for at least a whole year. The courier left in a hurry. Zhong Yuan immediately locked the door of the warehouse. In fact, before the safe was delivered, Encage sent a secret key. Zhong Yuan estimated that she might have made a number of 100 or 200, but he didn't expect that the old lady was so awesome that she actually shipped a whole box. How many Su crystals can be put in such a big box? No wonder the Dongfeng Express guy had to drive an explosion-proof car to deliver the goods. Zhong Yuan took the secret key and compared it with the password. After 3 minutes, with a click, the door of the safe finally opened. Because the packing was rushed and it was dispatched from various prefecture-level warehouses, thousands of Su crystals did not even have small packages, but were simply and roughly piled together. Thousands of Su crystals emitted light in the dim safe, almost blinding Zhong Yuan's eyes. Most of the Su Ning people will never see such a huge wealth in their lifetime. According to the 5-digit price tag, this box of things is worth hundreds of millions. However, the old lady gave it away as she said. Zhong Yuan's mood became more complicated. No wonder Feng Yumo is keen on hanging out with rich women. It's so delicious. Feng Yumo. There is also a note on this pile of Su crystals. There is only one simple sentence on it. Xian Ming, between friends, no need to thank. Really, I gave Feng Yumo 10 Su crystals and wrote a sentimental essay. When I gave a whole box, I just said a simple sentence. Zhong Yuan lowered his eyes and put the note away solemnly. It didn't say how many Su crystals there were, but just by looking at it, you know that such a large number is enough to upgrade the furious attack to the fighting master. For some reason, Zhong Yuan remembered Lin Dongliang's imperative request on the phone. I want you to get the top 10 in the individual competition. Zhong Yuan snorted coldly, since you can't control Lanlan, you might as well turn your target to me. It's just what I want. He looked gloomy, and inserted one hand into the ruins crystal hill. A prompt appeared in his mind. Found the Ghost Trench Badger ruins crystal, do you want to absorb it? Absorb. Swoosh. The energy of the vast ruins crystal gathered together. The pale yellow light turned into a magnificent imperial gold. This shocking energy rushed into Zhong Yuan's body. not only did it not make him explode, but it wandered around in his body and finally rushed into the position of his heart. Raging Strike, Blue Level LV Max. Your ability Raging Strike has been improved. You have gained a new ability, Fighting Master. Zhong Yuan was delighted, since the day when he activated the Ice Blood Explosion and temporarily gained this ability, he has been thinking about it. Fighting Master, you are born to kill, proficient in any kind of weapon, and can take the enemy's life with a single move. It's not over yet. You can still upgrade. The prompt continues. Fighting Master, Red Level LV Max. You have gained a new ability, Tooth for Tooth. Yellow Level, Upgradable. What is this? Zhong Yuan was shocked. The Fighting Master did not upgrade further as expected, but instead gained a new ability out of thin air. Total Fighting, requires the realization of fearlessness and Fighting Master LV Max. Ability Description, Fighting Master's ability is immediately increased by 100%. Feng Yumo said that he had encountered a Ghost King Badger, which was ridiculously strong. Its ability suddenly increased tenfold. In the end, it took several teams of Suning to kill it. At this moment, Zhong Yuan realized that their understanding of the Ghost King Badger was wrong. The ability increased tenfold, not because of the simultaneous launch of fearless and furious attacks, but because of the unique special ability of the King Badger, Tooth for Tooth. The Su crystal has not been consumed yet, and the upgrade continues. Tit for Tooth, Qing Level LV Max. Ability Description, Fighting Master ability increased by 1000%, it is indeed 10 times the attack power. Even though Zhong Yuan was mentally prepared, when he saw the ability description, he couldn't help but sigh. The strength of Sudong Flathead Brother is too terrible. Before he finished sighing, a new prompt came again. You have gained a new ability, Blood for Blood. Blood for Blood, Red Level LV8, Upgradable. Ability Description, Fighting Master's ability is increased by 1000%. When attacked, absorb a certain amount of attack power and rebound to the target, and the rebound power does not exceed 300% of its own attack. Zhong Yuan stood there, shocked to the point of numbness. Blood for Blood is, in a sense, more terrifying than Ice Blood Explosion. It has no side effects, not only greatly increases the power of Fighting Master, but also rebounds the enemy's attack. Although it is already Zhong Yuan's own ability, after reading the description, he actually felt a little fear. Killed a king snake with Ice Blood Explosion ability, and that snake did not have the ability of thermal explosion pressure, eternal ice domain, etc. So until now, Zhong Yuan has not felt a sense of crisis. He simply believed that his ability was unique, and it was almost impossible for aliens to evolve to red level or even disaster level ability. Now, he suddenly realized that this idea was wrong, because the Ghost Trench Badger with the ability of Tooth for Tooth did exist, if Feng Yumo and the others hadn't encountered the King Badger at that time. It would continue to grow, and in time, it is very likely to evolve the ability to repay blood with blood. Is there such a King Badger in the Su cave? What if there are tens of thousands of such King Badgers in the cave, everywhere? Chapter 72 Shura Field. Shura Field. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhong Yuan's consciousness was dominated by great terror. All evidence showed that the ability he gained by absorbing ruin crystals to upgrade was not unique. Aliens should also be able to evolve the same ability through continuous growth. Only humans can obtain the power of aliens by absorbing ruin crystals. They cannot upgrade and evolve. As more and more powerful aliens appear, the power obtained becomes smaller and smaller, and the battle will evolve into a one-sided massacre. For example, the tragedy that happened to Zhonglan 4 years later. After obtaining the hidden ability of the King Badger that was unknown to outsiders, Zhong Yuan's excitement at the beginning turned into deep fear. For a while, he was extremely pessimistic. He wanted to take his sister away from this world immediately, but found that he could not go anywhere. The door of the warehouse was knocked. Yuan, are you there? Open the door. The knock on the door was like a life-saving straw, and Zhong Yuan's thoughts were slightly pulled back to reality. He opened the locked door absent-mindedly. Feng Qing stood outside the door and said unhappily, "What are you doing in there? You locked the door." This guy has sharp eyes and immediately saw the big safe, then showed an expression of I understand everything. The safe must contain collections that are not allowed to be seen in public, the kind that adolescent boys are interested in. Feng Qing said earnestly, Yuan, I'm not saying anything bad about you. It's better to be restrained in broad daylight. Look at you, your face is uglier than a dead person. Zhong Yuan was extremely frustrated and said, What are you doing here? Feng Qing's eyelids jumped and he realized that something was wrong with him. What's going on? I made a dirty joke, but there was no reaction at all. It would be better to hit me in anger than this reaction now. Feng Qing said calmly, I knew you forgot. The student union will hold a regular meeting this afternoon. You are the discipline committee member and must attend. Zhong Yuan said, No. Feng Qing raised his eyebrows, you have to go even if you don't want to. You didn't come last week, and your allowance has been divided up by others. You must attend today. There are important things waiting for you to deal with. Zhong Yuan turned a deaf ear and repeated mechanically, No. Suddenly entered zombie mode, right? Do you still want to get better? Feng Qing's forehead veins bulged, and he used his trump card. If you do this again, I will tell your sister that you secretly read bad books in the dormitory and refuse to perform the duties of a student union cadre. Dare to talk nonsense in front of my sister, I will kill you. Are you going or not? Go. Hee, the trump card is really awesome. Feng Qing was in a good mood and ignored the death threat. At 3 o'clock, he took Zhong Yuan to the student union special classroom on time. On Friday, the student union held a regular meeting. No matter whether they were cadres or staff members, they were all present. No one wanted to miss the opportunity to share the benefits of the student union. As soon as Feng Qing appeared at the gate, dozens of people focused their attention on him. Secretary Jian Ro looked at the time. And it was exactly right. She came on time, impeccable. Then, everyone saw that there was a stranger following Feng Qing. He was pale, with long black hair tied in a ponytail, wearing a pair of black-framed glasses, and wearing a black student union uniform. He was lifeless and silent, just like attending a funeral. Apart from being handsome, he had no other likable characteristics. So, is this a ghost, or a morning god? Feng Qing walked into the classroom and saw that everyone was present. He smiled and said, Today, while everyone is here, I will introduce the new members of the student union. He pointed to someone and said, Zhong Yuan, a first-year student in the special class. Starting this semester, he will serve as the discipline committee member of the student union. Everyone whispered, although they had heard about it a long time ago, and many people saw Zhong Yuan patrolling the school, they had not announced it publicly. Now that Feng Qing has finally made the official announcement, it means that Zhong Yuan's appointment as the discipline committee member is a fact that cannot be changed. Oh, Shang Guanyi's face was swollen. Xie Han was sitting in the back row and was secretly surprised. On the day of enrollment, he was the one who received Zhong Yuan. Unexpectedly, he got ahead so quickly. It's really amazing. I remember that he was just an auditor at the beginning. Maybe it's not too late to rush up and hug his thigh now. Boss, do you still remember the little transparent who received you at the school gate that year? Xie Han shouted in his heart. However, Shang Guanyi has been the discipline committee member for a long time. Before he stepped down, Feng Qing pushed Zhong Yuan up. There will definitely be a conflict between the two. Today's regular meeting may turn into a Shura scene. Xie Han was a little excited when he thought about it. There are many people who think the same way. The whole audience was silent, waiting for Zhong Yuan to say a few words. Unexpectedly, he didn't react at all. Feng Qing was very upset and said in a low voice, Say hello. Zhong Yuan was really in a bad mood and said expressionlessly, Hello everyone, my name is Zhong Yuan. That's it? I already know your name. Why don't you say something else, such as whether you have a girlfriend or not? Both boys and girls were dissatisfied with Zhong Yuan's perfunctory speech. In Feng Qing's opinion, this performance was already very respectful. I don't know what happened. Zhong Yuan's mood was particularly wrong today. He sighed and wanted to sit down, but found that there was one chair missing. Good guy, this group of people did it on purpose. Feng Qing's eyelids twitched, pointed to his seat, and said, There is an empty seat there. You sit first. Everyone looked at each other, trying to stop him, but no one dared to step forward. What a joke, that position is the chairman's seat for the student union president. How can he sit there? Zhong Yuan didn't care about that, walked forward and sat down unceremoniously. It was embarrassing. Feng Qing had no seat. Secretary Jian Rou sighed softly, stood up and said, "I'll move a chair from the next classroom." She was about to leave, but was stopped by Shangguan Yi. "I'll go." Everyone looked at this scene in surprise. Shangguan Yi gave in. After all, Feng Qing's hint was obvious, and he even gave up the seat of the student union president, and Shangguan Yi and Feng Qing were about to graduate, so there was nothing to fight for. The Shura field seemed hopeless, but those who knew Shangguan Yi knew that this wave was definitely going to cause trouble. Jian Rou looked at his leaving figure worriedly, and then looked at Zhong Yuan, who was sitting firmly in the position of the president. She hesitated for a moment and whispered softly, "Student Zhong Yuan, this position is for the president." Zhong Yuan didn't give her a good look at all, and said coldly, "I sit here, can I?" Jian Rou was speechless because of his retort. She has always had a good reputation in school, and she is also the secretary of the student union. Who wouldn't give her some face? Who knew that she would be rejected by Zhong Yuan? Feng Qing blinked his eyes. Jian Rou, a gentle and beautiful girl, was not Yuan's type. What type of girl does he like? Don't be that plague god. The atmosphere was solemn, and there was no relaxed and happy scene at ordinary meetings. Jian Rou didn't say much, and simply stood up and gave her seat to Feng Qing. At this time, Shangguan Yi came back. Instead of a folding chair, he held a few thin A4 papers. Seeing Zhong Yuan sitting in the president's seat, Jian Rou was about to give up her seat to Feng Qing, and the anger that had been accumulated for several days finally broke out. Shangguan Yi took a big step to Zhong Yuan. Bang! He clapped his hands and slammed the previously written self-criticism on the table. Everyone was terrified, not knowing what he wanted to do. Zhong Yuan stared at the self-criticism expressionlessly. The content between the lines was so familiar. Wasn't it the one he wrote to the instructor? However, the handwriting in front of him was crooked, and it was obvious that the poor student had plagiarized it. Shangguan Yi's face was livid, and he said coldly, "You succeeded, are you satisfied? Fuck your self-criticism." He suddenly grabbed the A4 paper, crumpled it into a ball, and threw it at Zhong Yuan. Chapter 73, Doing a Good Deed Before Dying. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhong Yuan tilted his head slightly, avoiding the attack of the paper ball. Shangguan Yi was furious and shouted, "Zhong Yuan! You are a despicable and shameless pretty boy. What else can you do besides prostitution in front of women? Do you dare to compete with me fairly? You dare not. You are a softy. You are not worthy of being a man. I know that you not only prostitute, but also have a vagina." His scolding was so ugly that he almost named Feng Qing and scolded him. No one stepped forward to dissuade him. Everyone was watching the show. Not only were they waiting for Zhong Yuan's reaction, but they also wanted to see how Feng Qing would deal with the conflict between the two. Jian Rou couldn't help it and said solemnly, "Enough. Shangguan Yi, stop talking." However, Shangguan Yi's scolding became more and more fluent, and he couldn't stop. More and more trash words came out of his mouth, which was unbearable to hear. Even Zhong Yuan's sister Zhong Lan was scolded by him. "You are shameless, and your sister is not a good thing either. You are so young and you are seducing the big boss of the military region. Don't think I don't know what you are doing." The scales of reversal were touched instantly. How will she live and study in the academy in the future if you throw dirty water on Zhong Lan in public? Zhong Yuan's thoughts were completely pulled back, and he said coldly, "You have provoked me again and again, and slandered my sister in front of so many people. Do you really want to fight me?" "Sure. I promise you, it takes a lot of ruins crystals to upgrade the ability to the disaster level. For the alien race, evolution must also take a long time, and the powerful alien race can't just come out of the ruins cave casually, otherwise human society would have been in chaos long ago. The mysterious alien race that killed Zhong Lan should be restricted by some kind of power and can only stretch out one claw. In the past few months since he was reborn, there has been no incident of opening the ruins cave, and the situation is more stable than expected. After sorting out his thoughts, Zhong Yuan's emotions finally returned to calm. Maybe I'm worrying too much. Let's solve the troubles in front of me first. There was a bit more fierceness in his lifeless eyes. Seeing this, Feng Qin was surprised and thought, Shangguan Yi is really asking for death. He scolded Zhong Lan when he scolded Yuan to death. Well, he did a good thing before he died. While Shangguan Yi was scolding, someone suddenly responded and caught him off guard. What did you say? Zhong Yuan said expressionlessly, fight me if you want. Ha! Ha ha ha! Shangguan Yi laughed for several seconds and suddenly stopped laughing. He reached out and easily lifted the heavy walnut conference table, then, he threw it casually, and the long table flew out and broke 4 windows. When it fell from the 6th floor to the ground floor, there was a loud bang, the glass shattered all over the floor, the people sitting at the table hurriedly retreated to the side to avoid being affected, a large empty area was vacated. Are the new and old generations of discipline committee members finally going to take action? Jian Rou looked anxious and shouted, Shangguan Yi. How can you destroy public property? Shangguan Yi snorted coldly, I'm not afraid of punishment, my uncle is the principal, I can also copy the self-criticism, and the punishment can no longer stop me from beating up the little white face. After crossing that hurdle and breaking free from certain shackles, he rushed to a whole new realm. No one was worried about whether the table would hit innocent passers-by when thrown down. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Shangguan Yi's show of power was equivalent to telling Zhong Yuan that he had at least 2 abilities, power and investigation. This was not a secret. Having participated in 2 college leagues, his abilities had long been thoroughly understood by major colleges and universities. Just a little inquiry would get detailed information. On the contrary, almost no one had seen Zhong Yuan take action, and no one knew what his abilities were. Xie sat in the back, extremely excited. He encountered the Shura field that only appears once every few years. Hurry up and record the historical moment. He took out his cell phone and secretly turned on the camera. The people sitting next to him did the same. All of them were just spectators who wanted to see the world in chaos. Jian Rou was sweating with anxiety and said to Feng Qin, President, stop them. Feng Qin was surprised. It's a fair duel, why stop it? Of course. He was afraid that Shangguan Yi would accidentally kill Zhong Yuan, which would affect his future. Who knew that Shangguan Yi not only didn't appreciate it, but also shouted at Jian Rou, the grudges between men should be resolved with fists. It's not your turn to interrupt. Jian Rou was so angry that she trembled. You, idiot. Idiot was the only curse she could think of. At this moment, Zhong Yuan relaxed a little, looked at his opponent and said, before you start, I have a condition. Feng Qin was looking forward to it. Here it comes. Zhong Yuan's old rule, put forward conditions. Shangguan Yi sneered, what conditions? Zhong Yuan said seriously, if you lose, first, you have to apologize to my sister for what you just said. Second, you have to be my sister's follower for a month. Third, you have to kneel at the entrance of the cafeteria every morning and serve my sister Xiao with both hands. Fuck. Is this one condition? It's obviously 3. And all 3 conditions are related to my sister. Are you a sister control? The last one, what the hell? A group of people complained wildly in their hearts. Feng Qin almost laughed out loud, and there was already a picture in his mind. The cafeteria's Xiaolongbao is in short supply. Zhong Lan loves it so much that she has to queue up for a long time to buy it. Recently, Zhong Yuan's 3rd condition was obviously selfish, and he didn't want to queue up to buy it, considering the friendship of classmates for many years and the fact that they were team partners. Feng Qin decided to save the person who was playing with his life in the end. Shangguan Yi, listen to my advice and stop fighting. Shangguan Yi didn't appreciate it at all, but thought Feng Qin was bluffing. I'm ranked 209th on the youth list, will I lose to a freshman? Nonsense, Xianming is ranked 68th, you are bound to lose. However, this guy stayed in the student union all day long, just eating and doing nothing, never patrolling the campus at noon, and was arrogant when he was told a few words, which set a very bad example. Feng Qin's persuasion was fruitless, so he simply remained silent. Now everyone thought Zhong Yuan was a paper tiger. Do you think that putting forward harsh conditions can scare Shangguan Yi away? You can't. Old E. Teach him a lesson. Show mercy, don't hurt his face. With the president here, what are you afraid of? Public opinion is overwhelming, all supporting Shangguan Yi. See. This is my popularity in the student union. Shangguan Yi couldn't help but feel proud, and said to Zhong Yuan, I accept your conditions. But I also have a condition. If you lose, you have to be my dog for a month. Okay. Zhong Yuan readily agreed. Shangguan Yi thought he would back down, and just wanted to taunt him, but had to swallow his words. Damn it. I'll show you later. At this time, Feng Qing said loudly, I will be a witness to this battle. Before the fight, let me reiterate the principles. We are all classmates, there is no life and death feud, and there is no need to kill. Especially you, Zhong Yuan. Don't make me too tired later. What does don't make me too tired mean? Is it an advance warning that Zhong Yuan will be defeated? At this time, no one noticed that Feng Qing used the word witness in a formal way, because this was not just an intramural duel, but also a ranking battle for the youth list. No matter what the result of the battle was, it had to be reported. Chapter 74 Waiting for you to be Xiao Lanlan's dog. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Only the parties involved know that Feng Qing almost died of exhaustion in order to save Feng Yumo last time, deliberately reminding Zhong Yuan is to hint him not to kill. Zhong Yuan ignored him and said to Shangguan Yi in a deep voice, I won't offend others if they don't offend me. I don't cause trouble, but I'm not afraid of trouble. Then he hooked his finger, let you attack first. This action was extremely provocative, and he simply didn't take people seriously. Shangguan Yi raised a grim smile at the corner of his mouth and shouted, just what I want, that what seniors and juniors should give way to each other, none of that strike first to gain the upper hand. Shangguan Yi's right fist was ignited with flames, which quickly spread to the entire arm. The sleeve was instantly burned. Ability, explosive flame, with a flame explosion after hitting the target. Ability, fierce power, strength increased by 150%. Under the high temperature burning, the air in the classroom was extremely dry. After activating the ability, Shangguan Yi's momentum changed, and one of his hands turned into a flaming arm, giving him a sense of déjà vu of a super warrior. However, having seen Rob's flaming giant, Zhong Yuan really looked down upon ordinary flaming abilities. It was obvious that he only needed to apply the flame to his fist, but he actually burned his entire hand, which showed that his ability control method was very crude. After fighting with top masters, his vision also became higher. Before he could imagine more, the attack with heat waves came in an instant. Zhong Yuan activated the fighting master ability without saying a word. At this moment, the fast and urgent, powerful straight punch, in his eyes, was slower than the slow playback 40 times the speed. Everyone was extremely nervous. Shangguan Yi's first move was the strongest trick. Could he kill with one blow? However, at the critical moment, Zhong Yuan turned his body as if he had divine help. Sparks brushed the ends of his hair. Boom. The sound of the explosion sounded, but the fire was extinguished. Shangguan Yi's all-powerful punch missed. This is impossible. The student union members watching the game in the front row were so shocked that they all stood up. Zhong Yuan's action of avoiding the attack actually took less than 1/10 of a second. The speed was too fast, and the process was almost invisible to the naked eye, so most people could only see the result. Missed. He avoided it. Shangguan Yi missed with a full-strength attack. Zhong Yuan is so fast. He has the ability to increase speed. Who filmed it? Copy it for me. People in front, sit down quickly. You're blocking my camera. Shangguan Yi's ability is more suitable for team combat. An excellent auxiliary can make him take off immediately. On the other hand, his ability to fight alone is really average, and many skills restrain him. The main attack ability explosion flame must hit the target to trigger the explosion. If it doesn't hit, it's useless to say anything. Due to over-reliance on his own physical skills, once he encounters a speed flow or control system ability, he is basically finished. Ranked outside the top 200 on the youth list, Shangguan Yi is indeed very powerful compared to his peers. In fact, if he does not absorb new abilities, Shangguan Yi has no chance of climbing up. Everyone began to take Zhong Yuan's strength seriously. Shangguan Yi immediately stabilized his center of gravity after missing a blow and continued to launch a new offensive. Don't look at him getting angry all the time and yelling at every turn. In fact, he is an old silver coin and very calm. He did not forget that Lei Bo fell into Zhong Yuan's hands and was forced to drop out of school. Therefore, he used 90% of his strength in the first move. Who knew that Zhong Yuan was the speed ability user who gave him the most headache? The killing move failed. If it were an ordinary person, his confidence would have been shaken, but Shangguan Yi was experienced in combat and did not panic at all. He immediately changed his fist into a palm and made a fake move, but actually attacked Zhong Yuan's lower body, 3 consecutive flame kicks with left and right bows. How rich can a freshman's combat experience be? Ability restraint is one thing, and on-the-spot response is another. Shangguan Yi didn't believe that Zhong Yuan could dodge it. A series of fierce kicks were his ultimate skills after long-term hard training and countless sweat. He considered himself the most diligent student in the academy, and he practiced even during lunch break. He won countless honors for the academy over the years, and Zhong Yuan took the position of the discipline committee not long after entering the school. Why? What Shangguan Yi didn't know was that Feng Qin made such a decision because of his strength. When he lowered his center of gravity and kicked the first time, Zhong Yuan had at least several ways to kill him. By the third kick, he could kill him almost a dozen times. How to keep Shangguan Yi alive is the urgent issue to consider now. Killing him directly will definitely cause big trouble. Zhong Yuan fell into deep thought, while jumping left and right, sometimes dancing and circling, sometimes pausing for a moment, trying to advance and retreat. Everyone was shocked to find that Shangguan Yi had never let his opponent leave the spot after fighting for so long. Every dodge was as amazing as an antelope hanging its horns, plus Zhong Yuan was extremely handsome, so the fight was very entertaining. It is no exaggeration to say that if it was filmed and played as a video, people who didn't know would think it was a movie. What ability does Zhong Yuan have? He doesn't look like a speed-related one. Extreme dodge within the field? Never heard of it. Even Feng Qin was stunned. Is this still a furious attack? If it is really that strong, the ruins crystals would have been sold out long ago. How could it become a niche product? But Zhong Yuan's fighting skills are so bad that even his grandmother's house doesn't recognize him. It is clear that he took off in Wuhu by relying on furious attacks. Did he secretly train again later? Feng Qin would never have thought that someone's furious attack had been upgraded to a full-level fighting master. After a long time of attacking without success and wasting his energy, Shangguan Yi finally got anxious and roared, "Zhong Yuan, you coward, don't hide if you have the guts." That when this was said, everyone looked strange. If you can't hit, you ask the opponent to stand and not hide. What kind of reason is that? Shangguan Yi's weakness was exposed. When fighting alone, without auxiliary bonus, it would be difficult to win once he was restrained. Even if Zhong Yuan didn't make a move, he could drag him to death. So powerful. Xie Han sat at the back of the classroom, filming a video and cracking melon seeds. The two people were fighting in a small space, and the distance between them was not even 5 meters. Shangguan Yi's moves missed, and he missed a single shot. Zhong Yuan was calm and relaxed, without a drop of sweat. Who was strong and who was weak was clear at a glance. There was no point in continuing to fight. Shangguan Yi was panting, his whole body was soaked with sweat. Continuously using explosive flames, plus a series of high-intensity attacks, put a lot of pressure on his body. He could only attack for 5 minutes at most, and then he was exhausted. Whenever he was about to fall, Feng Qin would always use the sun reverse to refresh his status, and then he would be revived with full blood. Shangguan Yi shouted reflexively, "Feng Qin. What are you waiting for?" "Waiting for you to be a dog for Xiao Lanlan." Feng Qin's face became serious, and he said, "Shangguan Yi, I want to remind you that you and Zhong Yuan have a fair fight. As a witness, I will not help any of you. As a human being, the most important thing is to recognize the reality." Jian Rou stood aside, her eyebrows twisted together in sorrow, and whispered, "I.e., you can't win, admit defeat." Chapter 75 I am nothing but an ant in his eyes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jian Rou's voice was like a thunderbolt, awakening Shangguan Yi who was fighting hard. Sweat as big as beans rolled down his forehead. stuck to his eyelashes, and blurred his eyes. He practiced hard day and night, just for one day. When he won, he could stand up straight and tell himself confidently, "My efforts were not in vain." Now, pride has become a joke, and confidence is shattered. Jian Rou's persuasion was like the last straw that broke his will. He fought with all his strength, but he didn't even touch the corner of Zhong Yuan's clothes. I thought he was a relative, a coward. He didn't lose his temper or fight back even when he was seriously provoked. In fact, he just disdainful. He didn't take the provocation to heart at all. Those dark eyes were always distracted, as if they didn't care about anything. At this moment, Shangguan finally realized why he couldn't control his impulse on the tarmac that day and threw Zhong Yuan over his shoulder, because Zhong Yuan never looked him in the eye. This guy's eyes are full of contempt, disdain, and disregard. Only a blind man wearing sunglasses would not mind such an arrogant attitude. Even now, Shangguan still feels that Zhong Yuan is absent-minded and his eyes are wandering. He is too strong. I am just an ant in his eyes. Shangguan is in despair. If he continues to fight, he will lose even more ugly. Do he really have to admit defeat? No. He has not fought to exhaustion yet. At least he must force Zhong Yuan to take action, even if he can only use one finger. Shangguan made up his mind and rushed up again with his fire fist. Unfortunately, this attack was powerful but not fast enough, and even laymen could avoid it. Everyone saw that he had been unable to attack for a long time, and his physical strength was overdrawn. He was already exhausted and at the end of his rope. Jian Rou was about to cry, and she covered her mouth with both hands to prevent herself from making any sound. Feng Qing looked grim, ready to treat him at any time. Based on his understanding of Zhong Yuan, Shangguan was doomed. However, to everyone's surprise, facing this punch, Zhong Yuan did not dodge or avoid, just stood there like a fool. The fist was about to hit him, and once hit, it would immediately cause a violent explosion. No one could take Shangguan trick without any protection. Feng Qing was so angry that he almost threw his sunglasses. Damn it. Can't you fight properly? You have to make something happen at the last minute. Do you want to make people have a heart attack? Seeing that the last fight was successful, Shangguan couldn't help but widen his eyes. Why didn't he dodge? The moment their eyes met, he finally saw a glimmer of spirit in Zhong Yuan's pupils. That was a serious and probing look, perhaps, with some contempt. Shangguan heart was shocked. Zhong Yuan, you finally looked at me straight in the eye. Do you want to test me? Do you think I will take advantage of someone's misfortune? I'm not a despicable person who can't afford to lose. Shangguan forehead was bulging with veins. He wanted to hold back at the last moment, but it was not easy for him. Most of the flames on his arm were extinguished, but the explosion still hit Zhong Yuan's chest. Boom. The explosion sounded, but the power was not as strong as expected. Zhong Yuan was quite surprised. In fact, no matter how he fought, the fighting master would kill him instantly. So, he kept dodging, and even forced himself to resist the fighting master's instinct to counterattack several times, until Shangguan physical strength was exhausted. Zhong Yuan decided to give him a chance and let him decide the right to live or die. Blood for blood. The explosion shattered Zhong Yuan's school uniform with a punch, and the skin injury caused was insignificant, and it could be restored within 1 second by using regeneration. At the same time, Shangguan was immediately retaliated. The terrifying destructive power reacted on his arm with the explosive characteristics. The muscles fell down one by one like peeling petals, the fascia was broken, the flesh and bones were separated, and even the solid arm bones were not spared. The bones broke into pieces, all the way to the shoulder, and the destruction just stopped. In less than 2 seconds, Shangguan right arm was completely gone. This is the terrifying effect after triggering blood for blood. The rebound power is not based on the absorbed attack power, but on Zhong Yuan's own ability. The so-called absorption of a certain attack power and rebound to the target refers to the attribute of absorbing the attack. Therefore, the explosion rebounded ruthlessly to Shangguan. If he had killed him at the last moment, there is no doubt that he would have died, but the fact is that Shangguan had already admitted defeat in his heart. Faced with Zhong Yuan's suspected behavior of letting him win, he decisively withdrew his strength and was unwilling to fight again. Making the right choice at the critical moment just saved Shangguan life. Zhong Yuan secretly thought, losing only one hand is not hopeless. including Feng Qing, no one saw through the danger and human nature contained in the last blow. The classroom was silent, the bloody scene shocked everyone's vision. This is not the Sudong battlefield, not the Fangjia hunting ground, but the school. Even in the fierce competition battlefield of the college league, such terrible bloodshed rarely occurs. Shang Wanyi's arm was broken, and he was almost in pain, his face was pale and his body was shaking. He found that Zhong Yuan's mouth was slightly raised with a faint smile. This must be the so-called smile of the winner. In the end, I didn't let you take action. Shang Wanyi was extremely bitter, and he didn't know how he lost. He fell into a pool of blood and lost consciousness. I.e. Jian Rou rushed to Shang Wanyi immediately. His entire right arm was gone, half of his clavicle was exposed, and the torn part was bloody and had some burn marks. It was so miserable. Jian Rou burst into tears and screamed at Feng Qing, "Hurry up and save him. He can't lose his right arm." Feng Qing thought that he would be exhausted again later, and he couldn't help but yell at Zhong Yuan, "I told you to be gentle, why didn't you listen?" Zhong Yuan frowned slightly and pursed his lips to activate his ability, Super Cute. Seeing that he didn't say anything, Feng Qing couldn't help but said, "You beat him to death, and you still want to play the silent lamb?" Zhong Yuan had no choice but to say, "Which hand did you see me hit him with?" "I didn't do anything the whole time, I was dodging. In the end, I was really exhausted and got hit, and my clothes were torn." Feng Qing was full of admiration for his logic and said in a lost voice, "What's the matter with your clothes being torn? Shang Wanyi lost his entire arm, and I'm already very good that I didn't kill him." Zhong Yuan turned his head away, not wanting to explain anymore, and said perfunctorily, "It's none of my business. Anyway, the force is mutual." Feng Qing sneered, "Do you think I haven't studied high school physics? The force and the reaction force are equal. You are fine, he is disabled. Tell me honestly, how did you hit him?" The last blow was definitely not a furious blow. Did Zhong Yuan absorb new abilities? I heard that an armored vehicle drove into the school today to deliver a package to him. It must have been sent by the plague god. However, Zhong Yuan was thinking, Super Cuteness is ineffective again. After all, it's red level LV2. How to use it? At this time, Jian Rou scolded them with tears in her eyes. "IE is injured like this, and you two are still in the mood to laugh." Feng Qing originally planned to save people, but suddenly changed his mind. "Jian Rou, don't make a mistake. I have no obligation to help Shang Wanyi treat. He was the first one to attack. He was also the one who repeatedly found fault. It's all his own fault. Take him to the school doctor, don't bother me. Don't offend the people in the medical department, let alone Feng Qing." Among all the medical system talents in China, only Feng Qing has the ability to trace the sun. If he is unwilling to take action, Shang Wanyi's arm will never recover after 24 hours. Chapter 76: The Real Power of Super Cuteness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. People always sympathize with losers. The anger and hostility of the crowd towards Zhong Yuan reached a critical point. "You are strong, you are against the sky, but why do you bully the weak?" Shang Wanyi's attack was never threatening. In the end, he was exhausted and even the flame on his fist was almost extinguished. Why did you break his hand? Even if he had cursed badly before, he shouldn't have been so heavy-handed. Zhong Yuan's behavior was too bad. The school and the military district must be informed. Everyone was terrified in silence and filled with righteous indignation and fear. At this time, Zhong Yuan just launched his most incredible ability against Feng Qing, Super Cute, permanently improve charm and make the target lose hostility, range, unlimited. After using it several times, I always felt that Super Cute was ineffective because the target had no hostility. Whether it was Encage or the instructor, they were all friendly to Zhong Yuan. Even if Feng Qing was dissatisfied with him for seriously injuring Shang Wanyi, subconsciously, Zhong Yuan was his own person and a future brother-in-law, so where did the hostility come from? Without hostility, Super Cuteness naturally cannot show the characteristics of being against the sky. when people who are hostile to Zhong Yuan face super cuteness, everything begins to change, the silent classroom gradually becomes noisy. Zhong Yuan did not attack the whole time, and he was always trying to avoid the attack. If you think about it carefully, he seems to have several obvious opportunities to counterattack. Yes, yes. I also found it. Look at the video. In this slow motion, he can kill Shangguan Yi, but I don't know why he didn't attack. Shangguan Yi is too ungrateful. Is the person recommended by Feng Qing a weak chicken? He fought so many times and couldn't win, but he just refused to admit defeat. He has such a bad temper. He thinks he is the best in the world. No wonder Feng Qing is unwilling to help him. Just now I wanted Feng Qing to assist him. How shameless. Zhong Yuan didn't even say anything. This is the demeanor of a master. Sympathy for Shangguan Yi was completely distorted under the effect of super cuteness. This transformation is extremely natural, without any trace of mental control, and it is not immune. Even if Zhong Yuan stops being super cute, the influence will continue and eventually form a terrible prejudice. This is the national treasure level ability to be cute, which cannot be absorbed or used at will. It changes people's minds without leaving any traces, and it is impossible to detect and resist, without exception. Jian Rose stayed beside Shangguan Yi, checking his injuries, and her mind was full of her sweetheart who was seriously injured and dying. Fortunately, she was not affected by super cuteness. Feng Qing was unwilling to treat him, and the students' union trampled on Shangguan Yi's personality at will. Under anxiety, Jian Rou finally broke out. She is introverted and will not yell when she is angry. Instead, she takes out her mobile phone and calls the school security team. Shangguan Yi has a special identity. Jian Rou and him are childhood sweethearts, so they are not ordinary. Her mother is a permanent director of Chengying College. Although she doesn't show up often, she has some say. In less than 5 minutes, the guards rushed into the classroom. Students in special classes are not ordinary children. To calm them down, only Su Ning can do it. Some of the guards were students who chose to stay in school after graduation because they had nowhere to go, and some were veterans who had retired from the front line. Occasionally, students fighting was child's play in their eyes, but this time the situation was completely different. Shangguan Yi was seriously injured, not just a fracture or a piece of flesh lost. His arm was completely shattered and could not be reattached. If he wanted to save it, he could only rely on the power of the Su Ning. There were only 2 abilities that could save him. One was the regeneration of a broken limb, and the other was the return of the sun. The conditions for the regeneration of a broken limb were more stringent than the return of the sun, and treatment was required within 10 minutes of the injury. It was definitely too late now. The only remaining means was the return of the sun. The guards were surprised to find that Feng Qing was at the scene. It was reasonable to send the injured to the infirmary first, and then put the murderer in the confinement room. Since Feng Qing was there was no need to go to the infirmary, and the school doctor's ability was not as good as his. The captain of the guard said respectfully, "Mr. Feng, please raise your hand and help him." "Come again. You think I'm your hard-working firefighter, right?" Feng Qing was extremely upset and said, "What if I refuse?" The guard captain's face changed slightly, and he stopped persuading him immediately. He said to the 2 guards behind him, "Send him to the infirmary." They came with a stretcher, and the 2 of them immediately lifted Shangguan Yi and rushed out of the classroom. Jian Rou followed anxiously and left together. She believed that the guard team would handle the case impartially and would not cover up the murderer. Then, the guard captain looked around and asked, "Who is the murderer?" Zhong Yuan took the initiative to step forward and said calmly, "It's me." The guard captain was quite surprised. Such a young face. Is he a freshman? You can't judge a person by his appearance. Shangguan Yi's fighting level is very high, and many veterans in the guard team can't beat him. The freshman in front of him looks gentle, but he can seriously injure him, and his strength should not be underestimated. There are bloodstains on the ground and the wall. With such a huge amount of bleeding, I don't know what ability he used. He is brave enough to stand up and admit it, which is worth affirming. Maybe there is something behind the vicious fight. Super cuteness continues. The captain of the guard repeated the question, "Do you admit to injuring Shangguan Yi?" Zhong Yuan said calmly, "Yes." So many people recorded the battle, so he couldn't deny it, so he just corrected his attitude and surrendered himself. The captain of the guard nodded and waved his hand. Four guards rushed forward and surrounded Zhong Yuan, ability, mental prison. This move belongs to the mental system and can make a person lose the consciousness of resistance. However, the ability level of the guards is not very high, and it must be launched by 4 people at the same time to be safe. Feng Qing saw that they were going to take him away, and immediately frowned and said, I can prove that the battle between him and Shangguan Yi was fair and just. You can't take him away, the captain of the guard said in embarrassment. Mr. Feng, please don't make it difficult for us. Shangguan Yi was injured like this, he should know the consequences. The process is not important, what is important is the result and the impact. As graduation approached, Shangguan Yi received invitations from many Su Ninja teams, who would want him if his hand was broken. Those teams were expected to absorb new blood, but now they have to find other talents, and the number of graduates from major Su Ninja colleges in the country each year is only about 1,000, one less is a huge loss to the country. If a talent like Shangguan Yi gets into trouble, even the military district will hold the murderer accountable. The captain of the guard said this, which was equivalent to putting pressure on Feng Qing. If you want to save Zhong Yuan, you have to save him. How could Feng Qing not hear the hidden meaning? He said with a gloomy face, you are worthy of threatening me. The captain of the guard replied, Mr. Feng, you are a magnanimous person. You don't have to bother with a small person like me. Chapter 77 Embracing Darkness, this is the most suitable environment for him. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The captain of the guards gave Feng Qing enough face, however, the person still had to be taken away. With a wave of his hand, the 4 guards immediately received the order, surrounded Zhong Yuan, and moved out. They were also confused. The little guy had delicate features, and he didn't look like a vicious thug who cut off people's arms. In fact, in addition to being put in a mental cage, he should also be handcuffed and tied with metal restraints for committing the crime of wounding people. But these guards were also changed by the super cuteness, and no one mentioned the handcuffs. Feng Qing was stunned, and he couldn't understand whether they were acting impartially or letting him off in private. Maybe there was still room for change. Feng Qing said loudly, Yuan, don't worry, you will be fine. Zhong Yuan was not affected by the mental cage at all. He took the initiative to follow the guard out of the classroom and turned to Feng Qing and said, don't let my sister know. Don't worry, you will be fine. Feng Qing said loudly, don't say anything when you enter the confinement room. I promise that if they dare to touch you, I will. The captain of the guard frowned and interrupted, Mr. Feng. Please be careful with your words and actions. Feng Qing had a blank expression and said ruthlessly, Zhong Yuan is my man. Whoever dares to touch him, I will fight to the death with him. The captain of the guard smiled helplessly, did not dare to contradict, and hurried out of the classroom. Then, Zhong Yuan was really locked up in the confinement room of the college. Students who made mistakes but did not break the law would be thrown in to reflect on their mistakes. If students in special classes commit crimes by relying on their abilities and are caught by guards, they will be temporarily detained here before being transferred to relevant departments. Moreover, once they are determined to be dangerous elements, their freedom must be restricted to prevent them from using their abilities to escape. This time, the guards failed to do their job. They didn't handcuff Zhong Yuan with any restraints, nor did they take his mobile phone. They just closed the door and left. After entering the confinement room, Zhong Yuan first checked his mobile phone. There was no signal, no wonder it was not confiscated. Then he looked around the small room. It was about 10 square meters, and the layout was similar to that of a prison cell. There was a small bed, a desk, a lamp, and a squat toilet opposite the bed, which was cleaned and free of dirt. There was also a small window on the door for delivering food. In addition, there were 4 surveillance probes hanging above the head, which could observe the movement in the room from all angles. If the lights were not turned on and the small window on the door was closed, it would be a dark, narrow space with almost no light. For ordinary people, such a place would be as depressing as it could be. Staying for a long time would inevitably make people feel depressed, anxious, and panicked. In the end, mental disorder was possible. Zhong Yuan was very familiar with such an environment. His soul had wandered in a darker and more silent world than this. As soon as the guard left, he immediately turned off the lights, embracing the darkness again. a sense of security came to him. Zhong Yuan silently took off his shoes and lay on the bed. He placed his hands on his chest and then quietly closed his eyes. The small bed, which was 0.9 meters wide and 2 meters long, was against the wall on both sides. If there were 2 more walls to surround the bed, it would be more comfortable. Such a thought suddenly popped up in his mind, and even Zhong Yuan himself was shocked. In short, the confinement room is a good place. Although it is small, it feels safe and is more comfortable than the dormitory. It seems that no one will come for the time being, so he will lie down for a while. Zhong Yuan sank his mind into the darkness and turned on his super perception by the way, so that he would automatically wake up if someone approached. On the ceiling, for surveillance cameras transmitted his every move to the monitoring room. The guards who were responsible for watching him looked at each other in surprise. This kid is too careless. He actually turned off the lights and slept. And his sleeping position is so strange, he doesn't even turn over, like a mummy. The guard simply started to joke. I bet he must be too nervous to sleep, just pretending to be calm, that he's already in the confinement room. It's impossible not to panic. He committed such a serious crime, maybe he will be sent away and locked up tomorrow, and finally tried in a military court. Why don't we bet on how long it will take him to move? 100 per person. Come on, place your bets. Big bets hurt the body, small bets are fun. Gambling, after all, is about making quick money. I bet 3 minutes. I bet 10 minutes. I bet a quarter of an hour. That's too small. I bet half an hour. In the evening, Principal Chen finally dragged his tired body back to school. The annual college league selection began, and the school must advance the work in a practical and orderly manner, and strive to create a better ranking in the league. In this way, a whole day of meetings were held to mobilize and convey various spirits. In addition, the worrying academic style rectification has really come. It is not a moral quality assessment, but the military region requires all students in special classes to have an average score of no less than 85 points in each cultural course. The midterm exam will be uniformly prepared by the higher authorities. If the results are not up to standard, there will be another chance for the final exam. If the final exam still does not meet the standard, I'm sorry, you are not allowed to participate in any competitions in the college league, and you are not allowed to graduate. It's a bolt from the blue. The college league is the best stage to show your strength in front of the major military regions. If you don't participate, there will be no exposure, and no matter how strong your ability is, it will be useless. The various Su Ninja teams don't know your existence at all, so it is impossible for them to take the initiative to extend an olive branch. The vacancies in the team are all filled, and if someone takes them first, there will be no chance. After receiving the news, Principal Chen was upset. Why did the higher-ups suddenly focus on cultural courses? Chinese, math, English, physics, and chemistry. It is true that you are good at Chinese, but what is the use of math? When you go out to buy things, do you have to calculate trigonometric functions with the clerk? What is the use of English? Isn't it better to bring a real-time translator? For other questions, you can search on your phone. Principal Chen returned to school in a hurry and checked Sheng Guanyi's grades first. Last semester, Chinese, 53. Math, 29. English, 12. Physics, 0, didn't take the exam. Chemistry, 6. Seeing this, Principal Chen's face turned pale and he collapsed on the chair. What a poor student. I have seen bad ones, but I have never seen such a bad one. He even failed the Chinese exam. Then, he suddenly remembered something and searched for Zhong Yuan's grades on the computer. Because he had just enrolled, there were only records of the junior high school graduation exam. Then, Principal Chen's eyes were blinded, full marks in all subjects. Zhong Yuan is a top student. Principal Chen was sweating profusely. There is no doubt that Nkei's revenge punches were in place and hit the dead spot. In fact, he misunderstood, because Nkei could not understand English. He almost died in the square world. After the discussion of the staff department, it was felt that the cultural courses of the Su Ninja must pass, and this set the tone for the rectification of the academic style. Then, Principal Chen browsed the results of several league main players of the college. Su Weiniing's grades were excellent, and each course was above 90 points. Feng Qing was average, with an average of more than 80 points, and he could meet the standard with some effort. as the saying goes, the auxiliary is iron, and the sea is changing. As long as these two are there, Chengying College's performance in the league will not be too bad. Alas, Xiao, you really give me trouble. Principal Chen was having a headache, and the Dean of Academic Affairs came in from outside in a hurry. Principal. Something terrible has happened. It's not like a cave has appeared. Why are you panicking? Principal Chen had a stern face and acted like a superior. The Dean of Academic Affairs said anxiously. Shang Wanyi was beaten severely. He is still in the infirmary for treatment. Feng Qing refused to help. What? Principal Chen's face changed drastically and he immediately rushed out of the office. Chapter 78. Why not wait for him to wake up naturally? You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the corridor, a series of hurried footsteps broke the solemn atmosphere in the infirmary. Two figures appeared outside the door, and the chief physician of the college immediately came forward to greet them. Principal, Director. Before they asked, the doctor began to explain Shang Wanyi's situation. He was invaded by a power similar to explosive fire, causing his right arm to be shattered. We have tried our best to treat him, but we still cannot completely eliminate the power remaining in the wound. Principal Chen looked at the person on the bed nervously. The nephew, who was usually strong and healthy, was pale and in a coma because of excessive blood loss. There was nothing under the right shoulder, and the arm was completely gone. The wound was treated urgently, but it continued to deteriorate and ulcerated, emitting a smell similar to burnt flesh. Two medical system masters stood by and took turns to use their abilities to relieve his pain. Seeing this tragic situation, Principal Chen's eyes turned black, his blood pressure soared, and it took him half a minute to breathe. He suppressed his anger and asked, "Who did it?" The Dean of Academic Affairs had already figured out the whole story and whispered, "This afternoon." At the regular meeting of the student union, Shang Wanyi and Zhong Yuan had a fight. Principal Chen said in disbelief, "How could Zhong Yuan beat him like this? He obviously couldn't even withstand a shoulder throw." The Dean of Academic Affairs didn't believe it at first, but the video was proof. It couldn't be fake, so, he said solemnly, he crushed and restrained himself throughout the whole process. Many people at the scene can testify that it was Shang Wanyi's bad attitude that forced Zhong Yuan to take action. Principal Chen favored his nephew, and there was still a glimmer of fantasy in his heart. He confirmed again and again, "Are you sure that Zhong Yuan didn't do it to avenge the fall that day?" The Dean of Academic Affairs shook his head helplessly. "It's really not Zhong Yuan's fault. It is said that Shang Wanyi scolded too fiercely and finally annoyed him, so he took action. Zhong Yuan was quiet at first and didn't want to hit anyone. The strange thing is that after watching the battle video, it is impossible to judge what ability Zhong Yuan used to severely injure Shang Wanyi. Among his 8 abilities, only the Furious Attack is related to fighting. The Dean of Academic Affairs has read the application form and remembers that the level of Furious Attack is Qing level LV2. Can Shang Wanyi be defeated at this level? However, Principal Chen is struggling with whose fault it is. Sitting in his position, he is used to putting accountability first. "I don't believe it. Xiao is so sensible and has already written a letter of apology. How could he possibly cause trouble for Zhong Yuan again? Oh, right. Where is Feng Qing? Let Feng Qing come and treat Xiao first." The Dean of Academic Affairs was in a dilemma. He couldn't tell him that Shang Wanyi had also offended Feng Qing, and he gave up and refused to treat him. The Dean of Academic Affairs stammered, "I can't find anyone." Principal Chen was furious and said coldly, "I think he doesn't want to take action." You can tell a person's true heart at a critical moment. He must be unwilling to see Xiao soar to the sky after graduation. This was purely a reckless statement made in anger. Feng Qing ranked 82nd on the youth list and was the only medical department in the top 100. Was he really jealous of Shang Wanyi's strength? The Dean of Academic Affairs couldn't help but persuade him. Feng Qing's temper is typical of being soft-hearted and not hard-hearted. The more you push him, the more he won't cooperate. Moreover, he has close relations with the Supervision Bureau and the Academy of Sciences. It's really hard to do anything to him. Principal Chen was upset and even a little panicked. Is it impossible to treat Xiao without Feng Qing? that the Dean of Academic Affairs said helplessly, it's no problem to save his life, but if he wants to recover to a perfect state, Feng Qing has to do it. Principal Chen looked at the person on the bed, and his heart was trembling. What a good child, who has brought glory to the college every year, and should not suffer such hardships. At this time, the Dean of Academic Affairs thought of something again and said, it is said that he refused to take action because he stood up for Zhong Yuan. Otherwise, let Zhong Yuan go and persuade him. I heard from Coach Lu that this child looks lonely, but he is actually gentle and very friendly to others. Friendly? Can you be so cruel? Principal Chen was entangled. After many years of teaching, this is the first time I have completely misjudged him. No wonder Zhong Yuan and Encage acted together. With such a strong strength, he would be popular wherever he went. With such a student, Qingying College must have secured a place in this college league. However, he injured Shangguan Yi and was the perpetrator. He actually turned around and begged him. It was simply unreasonable. Old Chen, make a decision quickly. Every minute you delay, your nephew will suffer one more minute. It has been 4 hours since the injury. If it is delayed for more than 24 hours, there will be no cure, that the Dean of Academic Affairs urged anxiously. Principal Chen took a deep breath and made up his mind, even if he had to risk his old face, he had to ask Feng Qing to help save him. In addition, Zhong Yuan had to be dealt with, and he must not be resistant to the college. No matter what, he must not be allowed to transfer. Principal Chen asked in a deep voice, where is Zhong Yuan? That the Dean of Academic Affairs hurriedly said, in the confinement room. He left as soon as he said he would, and soon arrived at his destination. To be precise, he went to the monitoring room to check on Zhong Yuan's situation first. If he is emotionally stable, we can go in and do ideological work. However, as soon as the two entered the monitoring room, they immediately saw several guards gambling. Fuck. He hasn't moved for 4 hours. Do you want to go over and see him? Dinner was delivered at around 5 o'clock, but he didn't get up to eat. Give me money, I'm closest to the right time. Is it time to talk about money now? Ahem, that the Dean of Academic Affairs coughed twice at the right time. Several guards hurriedly stood up and greeted the leader. The Dean of Academic Affairs pointed to the 4 monitoring screens and frowned. What's going on? Why don't you turn on the monitoring? A guard quickly explained. It's on, Director. Look at it, there's a time display. The Dean of Academic Affairs was puzzled. If it's on, why is the screen black? Another person said, the boy is sleeping, turn off the lights. If you don't believe me, take a closer look. The Dean of Academic Affairs came to the screen and looked for a long time, and finally identified a lying figure in the dark screen. He hurt someone, but he was sleeping peacefully. Principal Chen was furious again. Drag him up. Old Chen. Calm down. Why not wait until he wakes up naturally? Principal Chen was furious. How long will it take to wake him up naturally? You just said that every minute of delay will cause Xiao Yi to suffer one more minute. That the Dean of Academic Affairs comforted him. Young people consume a lot of energy and metabolize quickly. They will wake up when they are hungry. They have been locked up for more than 4 hours, and they must be close to their limit. I guess, at most in half an hour, they will get up to drink water. At worst, at least get up to go to the toilet or something. This judgment is simply wrong. After waiting for another 2 hours, someone was still lying there, without moving at all. The Dean of Academic Affairs was directly broken. Will he sleep until dawn? During the waiting period, he called Feng Qing's phone many times, but it was always turned off. He couldn't find him in the dormitory. If Feng Qing was determined to disappear, it would be useless to persuade Zhong Yuan. Principal Chen turned around and left in anger. This time the Dean of Academic Affairs did not follow him. It was already late. He hesitated for a long time, and finally found a place where no one was, and dialed the number of the Eastern Theater Command staff. I have an urgent matter, I must report to Commander and immediately. That the sweet voice of the operator came. Lieutenant Colonel Gu Yan, please wait a moment, I will transfer you immediately. Chapter 79 The Youngest First-Class Medal Winner. You are listening at novelfull.audio. If Principal Chen knew that his academic director was actually a lieutenant colonel, his eyes would definitely pop out of his sockets. It's normal, after all, it is a place that supplies talents to the military region, how could there not be spies? What if the principal is all-powerful and messes around in the school, or secretly communicates with foreign enemies? Academic Director Gu Yan is the person in Guanfeng planted in the college to supervise the principal. He would not contact the headquarters unless there was a major incident. But this time the situation was too special, and the East China military region could not afford the consequences of losing two talents, and Guanfeng had just fallen asleep when he was woken up by this call. My daughter finally did not come home for dinner. She was depressed, and suddenly heard that Gu Yan was going to report about Zhong Yuan, and she suddenly became energetic again. The call lasted for 15 minutes, and Guanfeng listened with great interest and asked, Xiao Gu, are you sure that the ability he used to defeat Shangguan Yi in the end was not any of the 8? I'm sure that it was definitely not the furious attack of the ghost badger. It was a bit close to the feeling of the king badger returning tenfold. Wait, you said the ghost badger? Yes. Any questions? Well. And Guanfeng pondered in silence. Commander, if Feng Qing doesn't take action, Shangguan Yi will be useless. In addition, how to deal with Zhong Yuan? He was locked up in the confinement room and has been on a hunger strike. And Guanfeng almost laughed out loud. Hunger strike is good, it means he still has some temper. Don't panic, just deal with it calmly first. I want to see how many days he can go on hunger strike. I will personally say hello to Feng Qing. By the way, send me the video of the two people's battle at that time, and I will let the staff department study it later. Send it to you right away. That the phone was hung up. A few minutes later, the video was delivered. After watching it carefully, and Guanfeng was no longer sleepy. Judging from the video, Zhong Yuan did nothing wrong. He even showed mercy and spared Shangguan Yi, and Guanfeng's opinion of Zhong Yuan has changed a lot, and he even has a little more appreciation for him. Cutting off only one arm of Shangguan Yi as punishment shows that he is tolerant and has a strong sense of the overall situation. Chinese compatriots, once they go to the battlefield of Sudong, they are comrades in arms and have a common enemy. They cannot confront and consume each other without a bottom line. Shangguan Yi is vindictive and has not realized this. Although Zhong Yuan is young, he is sober and has his sights set higher and farther. He is a rare general, and it is a pity to give him up to Jiuxiu. It's just, his appearance is too romantic. No wonder my daughter keeps praising him. Keep praising him. Keep praising him. Let him go to Jiuxiu. A blue-faced man is a disaster, and he cannot stay in the team to bring bad atmosphere. And Guanfeng thought for a moment and called his deputy. The Ares squad made great contributions in the mission of Shenangjia Fangjia. Zhan Hong, Xiong Yuba, and Wu Juanrong won the second-class merit, and Mao Wei won the third-class merit. As for Nkage and Zhong Yuan, they both won the first-class merit. In addition, the military region also applied for honorary medals for Zhong Yuan and Xiong Yuba. Qiming Medal. It is specially used to commend Su Ningxia warriors who have made great contributions and performed well in battle. It is divided into first to third levels, with the first level being the highest. Xiong Yuba was awarded a third-level Qiming Medal, and Zhong Yuan was awarded a first-level one. Even in Guanfeng was a little jealous. When he was Zhong Yuan's age, he had just entered the academy and didn't get his first medal in his life until he was 24 years old, and it was only a third-level one. Zhong Yuan got the first-level medal at the age of 16, setting a record for the youngest first-level medal winner. Xiao Qin, hurry up about the medal. Ah. Not so fast. Hurry up. Anyway, it's not publicly awarded in the military region this time. It doesn't matter if the process is fast. Yes, yes. Send the medal and certificate of honor to Qingying College. Also make a silk banner and send it together. Time goes back to dinner time a little earlier, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in the cafeteria. Feng Qing watched Zhong Lan order 2 servings of spicy chicken, and specifically asked the cook to add more chili. The chicken was covered with red and green chili, which had a strong visual impact. Feng Qing frowned and couldn't help saying, "You eat this again? I see you eating it several times a week." Zhong Lan whispered, "I love it." Feng Qing's eyelids twitched wildly, thinking, Zhong Yuan doesn't even say anything to her when she is so picky about food. No, if this continues, her nutrition will definitely be imbalanced. If you don't eat any vegetables, it will be troublesome if you can't hum. After finding a secluded place to sit down and eating a few bites of food, Feng Qing deliberately said, I suddenly want to eat spicy chicken. Lanlan, let's exchange dinner, okay? Feng Qing's dinner, steak set, a piece of tomahawk steak, a boiled egg, vegetable salad, and a cup of corn kernels, super healthy. Zhong Yuan was a little reluctant, and looked at Feng Qing's colorful set again, thought about it, and said, but, I've eaten. I don't mind. Feng Qing took the little girl's dinner with a smile, and pushed the steak in front of her. Okay then. Spicy chicken is so delicious, you will definitely like it too. Recently, I often eat with Feng Qing, and I am considered familiar with him. Zhong Yuan doesn't mind developing another ally who loves spicy chicken. Feng Qing calmly picked up a piece of chicken and stuffed it into his mouth. In an instant, he almost smoked from his butt, and the rocket exploded, and he ascended to the sky on the spot. What the hell? Is this really human food? Feng Qing's 5 senses were stronger than those of ordinary people. The spicy taste spread in his mouth, amplifying the stimulation by more than 10 times. He cried on the spot. Zhong Yuan asked expectantly, is it delicious? It's so delicious. So delicious that I cried. Feng Qing wiped the tears behind his sunglasses and ate another piece. It's so delicious, really. Baji, baji, baji. He chewed and swallowed frantically, and ate a lot of spicy chicken with peppers in 2 minutes. Then, Su restarted. Damn, I came back alive before I was killed by the spiciness. Feng Qing exhaled a breath of turbid air and rubbed his stomach, feeling quite grateful for surviving a disaster. Zhong Yuan had no idea about this and thought that Feng Qing was influenced by her and became a friend of spicy chicken. She was in a good mood and said, let's order 4 servings together tomorrow. Feng Qing was overwhelmed and suddenly had an idea. He said, it's better to miss each other than to meet. You will get tired of eating something you like every day. Eating it once in a while is the ultimate delicacy. Zhong Yuan smiled innocently. No, I will always love spicy chicken. It's over. I will die if I eat with her. Zhong Yuan eats with her every day. No wonder. Feng Qing's mind was blank and he didn't know how to change Zhong Lan's bad habit of being picky about food. At this time, Zhong Lan pouted and said unhappily, Brother Feng Qing, where is my brother? Why hasn't he come yet? Friday afternoon was a self-study class. She didn't see her brother enter the classroom. She asked around and found out that it was a student union meeting. However, he still hasn't shown up, which is too slow. Chapter 80, Paranoid people are the most likely to succeed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The brother and sister were inseparable every day, and Feng Qing knew that Zhong Lan was going to ask where his brother was. He used the excuse he had already thought of and replied, your brother went to the hospital for an injection and may have to come back later. Zhong Lan asked doubtfully, injection? Why would he want to get an injection? Feng Qing said seriously, I was bitten by a dog. Zhong Lan suddenly became anxious. Is it serious? Feng Qing quickly comforted him, it's not serious. It's just a scratch at most. But you know, it would be bad if you get rabies. If you have a slight injury, you have to get an injection. Zhong Lan frowned and said, why are there such dangerous animals in the academy? Feng Qing said helplessly, I can't help it. He was raised by the principal's family and was fostered in the student union. Your brother is new here and we haven't gotten along well with him yet. However, after today, he should listen to your brother's words. Maybe he will pass. I'll bring it here for you to play with in a few days. That's it. Zhong Lan still felt uncomfortable. According to her opinion, dogs that hurt people should be killed without hesitation. At this time, Feng Qing asked carefully, Lanlan, if that dog only has 3 legs left, do you still want it? Zhong Lan did not doubt that he was there and replied, what use does a lame dog have for it? My brother broke its legs. Feng Qing sighed, yes, he was so cruel that he almost beat him to death. Zhong Yuan clapped his hands and said in relief, that's how it should be. Who let him bite my brother? Feng Qing struggled, tell me, do you want to be treated? In fact, he has been looking after homes and nursing homes for many years. Zhong Yuan asked, will you bite my brother again in the future? Feng Qing said, I promise, it won't happen. Zhong Yuan said carelessly, then cure it. By the way, is the dog big? Can you ride it? It's 1.8 meters, very big. Feng Qing calmly changed the subject, it's not fun to ride a dog. Next time I will take you to the racecourse to ride a big horse so that you can have enough fun. Okay. Zhong Lan's eyes lit up and he was full of interest in horse riding. She loves animals and often pesters her brother to take her to the zoo. The kind that only runs 3 laps is boring, but going to a professional racecourse is more exciting. Hee, you made your promise, don't go back on it. Of course, I, Feng Qing, have always been trustworthy. The two of them made an agreement and had almost finished dinner. After all, Zhong Yuan was young and didn't have a big appetite, so at least half of it was left. The leftover food processor was not there, and Feng Qing was hungry again, so she ate all the leftovers in 3 bites. Seeing this scene, Zhong Lan's face turned red. She still understands the difference between men and women. It doesn't matter if her brother eats her leftovers, but the nature of Feng Qing's eating is different. She wrung her fingers and said, Brother Feng Qing. That. What's wrong? Can you help me with special training? Feng Qing was stunned. Special training? What do you want special training for? Zhong Yuan said seriously, actually, when school was over today, the instructor said there would be a discussion and exchange meeting on the weekend and asked us to sign up voluntarily. Feng Qing asked in confusion, how come I haven't heard of any exchange meeting? He suddenly had a bad feeling. Isn't that what the so-called discussion and exchange is? Zhong Yuan said, Brother Feng Qing, how could you not know? Didn't you say it will be held every year? Damn it. Feng Qing asked in surprise, are you going to compete with Hualing Academy? That's right. This year it's our turn to come. The instructor said that both sides will send first-year students to play. I thought it was a good opportunity to practice, so I signed up. Don't tell my brother. Good guy. The little sister is so courageous. She dared to go out and fight not long after she became a Su Neng. Feng Qing's face looked uncertain. In previous years, the school team would compete. It must be that Hualing College has been losing for 2 years in a row, and in order to regain its position, it came up with a bad idea to let the first-year students compete with each other. Not long after I entered school, the gap between the students on both sides is not big. Hualing College may be stronger than Chengying College. Is Director Lu being too hasty in letting people go out for exercise? However, Zhong Yuan has 2 pretty good abilities. What he lacks is combat experience and skills. With a little training, he should be able to stand out from the group of rookies. It's a pity that Zhong Yuan was put in a solitary room, otherwise he would have beaten Hualing's people until they cried for their fathers and mothers. Feng Qing asked calmly, when will you go to Hualing College? Zhong Yuan replied, the morning after tomorrow. The instructor said he would take us there personally. It turns out that Director Lu is really thoughtful about using weekends and holidays without affecting his usual classes. With her leading the team, there shouldn't be any problems with this group of rookies. Feng Qing thought for a while and said, logically, your brother should be here to help you with special training. He is better at fighting than me. I'm just a medical guy. Zhong Yuan said hurriedly, no. You don't want my brother. Why? Feng Qing was very puzzled. Zhong Yuan said tangledly, I just don't want my brother to know. Well, it's quite difficult to understand the mind of a 12-year-old girl. Feng Qing nodded and said, let's go to the training ground. That night, Feng Qing's cell phone kept buzzing and vibrating in his coat pocket. Unfortunately, he took off his jacket and threw it aside during training. He didn't notice at all that his phone was knocked off and turned off automatically. After training until midnight, Feng Qing was finally amazed. Zhong Yuan is very smart, learns quickly, and has a strong sense of combat. He got the hang of it in just one night. Unlike Zhong Yuan, he is so stupid. He worked hard to teach him all day, but in the end he couldn't even put up a frame. The fighting talents of the 2 brothers and sisters are so different. Teaching Zhong Yuan is really refreshing and makes people feel extremely comfortable. Okay, it's late, it's time to go to bed. I'm 8. I still need to practice, are you so hardworking? Feng Qing couldn't help but say, if you don't sleep, you won't grow taller. Zhong Yuan said seriously, I have lost 20 years of life compared to others, so I don't have that much time to waste on sleeping. If you can't grow taller, then you can't grow taller. I'm 8. As long as you don't die from practicing, practice to death. Feng Qing was shocked and felt a unique charm from her. Only loving to eat spicy chicken and eating it every day is paranoia. Once you enter the training state, you will not stop until you are exhausted, which is even more paranoid. Zhong Yuan will definitely become stronger. Paranoid people are the most likely to succeed. No wonder Zhong Yuan is so confident. Feng Qing took off his sunglasses and smiled helplessly. If your brother knew that I indulged you to stay up late, he would definitely beat me. You must say a few good words for me then. It was the first time that Zhong Yuan saw him take off his sunglasses completely. For a moment, she was a little dumbfounded. Purple eyes, really beautiful, she blinked playfully and whispered, isn't it better not to let my brother know? This is a secret between the two of us. When I become stronger, I will give my brother a surprise. Surprise. Feng Qing really couldn't imagine what Zhong Yuan's surprise would look like. Suddenly he also looked forward to it, and said sincerely, okay. It's a deal. That night, Feng Qing stayed up all night with her. It wasn't until the morning when his second mobile phone rang that he realized that the sky was actually bright. Satellite dedicated line, can be connected even in Fangjia. Only a few people know the number of Feng Qing's phone. The caller ID shows the military district headquarters.